to Sarah, right? Done.
Are we broadcasting at this time?
No. I was just a trial run, you know. 'cause-
I'm seeing
Nice.
Mayor
No, we're-
Venice's name down there.
We're broadcasting when we entered.
It's a practice
Yeah,
session.
there's no audio.
We're not actually broadcasting yet. We haven't
Oh.
started the webinar.
Okay, and I
I
don't
see
see Chris
There's
Heppel
name
in
there too,
yet.
but I don't see audio.
And there she is.
There's Betty. There we go.
Okay,
Thank
we have
you. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this September 9th, 2020 City Council work session. It is nice to all be back together, even in this virtual format. Happy to see you all. Thank you all for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using in response to Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives order. This format enables the City Council to meet and take care of business while keeping its members, staff, and the public safe. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials webpage. And as always, other avenues of communication with me and city councilors are available, including email and voicemail. Thank you again for joining us. And on this, as we open this meeting, we have an agenda, an amended agenda, but I would like actually to begin by turning this over to the city manager for an update on the status of the wildfires and smoke.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see everybody. I'm sorry that every time you leave to go on break or you come back from break, it seems like we're in different emergency. So you can never go on break again. We had previously scheduled to have an update on the fire merger, and I know you got a lot of materials about that. We've rescheduled that so that Chief Heppel can focus on what is the obvious current demand in front of him. And I did ask him if he could spare a few minutes today to just join us and give you an update on where he thinks we're at. I had sent you an email yesterday and said we would be prepared to do an emergency declaration. And I know at this time he doesn't think we need to do that yet, but he could probably say more about that as well. So he doesn't have a lot of time, and I know you're going to have a lot of questions. So I'm just going to turn it over and ask him to kind of keep it high level. So with that, my gratitude to you, Chief Heppel. I know you've done a lot of incredible work over the last 48 hours and 6 months.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. Hopefully all can hear me. Coming to you, unfortunately, I can't present today the merger piece, but we'll slide that off to another day. But this is a great reason why we work so collaboratively in our community and fire and emergency services and all of our other public safety partners. On Monday evening, there was a fire that started up near Cougar Reservoir and the Blue River Rainbow area. And that fire quickly spread into the communities, and we were asked to respond up to that with mutual aid assistance, which we did. That fire up in that area, which is now called the Holiday Farm Fire, is what we're experiencing right now. That fire spread down the McKenzie Valley, pushed by a historical easterly wind. It's very, very rare we get those types of winds. And that fire spread from milepost 47 to 27 in the first evening. So obviously we've brought in quite a few additional resources to help us with this incident. Yesterday morning, the Office of State Fire Marshal sent an incident management team into the area, which took over the structural protection of this fire at 0700 yesterday. We have, they brought 2 task forces with them. A task force is 5 apparatus. So a total of 10 apparatus and the associative leadership teams to manage all of that and then some. And those came from both Polk County and Yamhill County. We also have 3 to 4 Lane County task forces that are engaged with it. The structural protection aspect as this fire moving forward. This initiated quite a few evacuations. As a reminder, in Oregon, we use the level 1, 2, 3, which means ready, set, go. Ready to prepare to move. Set, you should have all your things together and leave immediately when told, and go means to leave immediately. So when you hear that term, that's what that means. We have numerous evacuations up and down the Willamette Valley, as well as moving into the Mohawk area. And just a few minutes ago, we initiated level 1 evacuation east of Bob Straub Parkway in Springfield. So that's predominantly the Thurston area is now level 1 evacuation, which means ready. So no one is being told to evacuate or move yet, but just simply to be ready as a precautionary stance as we watch the progression of this fire. Hopefully the weather will start to turn. These current easterly winds, which is pushing this, will die off this evening, and we'll see some more favorable weather for us in the coming days, but we'll look forward to that shortly. The city of Springfield has declared an emergency for obvious reasons due to its proximity. I've asked the city manager if she would hold off on that. We haven't hit any particular trigger point that I feel necessary. We need to do that. We're also still getting a lot of resources in place so we can manage this incident before it becomes more of a threat to the city of Eugene. Our daily shift coverage continues to remain strong in Eugene. So we have our normal shift coverage while we're thin because we've provided resources to our neighboring partners as well as the state to assist with this fire. We do maintain our normal shift coverage. There's quite a bit of information out there to include. Lane County has established an information line. It's the same non-emergency line that we've been using through the COVID event, and that's to help decompress our 911 center with folks calling, looking for information. Certainly going to continue to encourage community members to stay connected to official information sources and that are very timely. So like our alerting system, the fire has a Facebook page specifically for itself, as well as our city websites. This is going to be a long-term event. The fire right now we estimate is over 105,000 acres, and that's going to take quite a bit of time to stop, mitigate, and then clean up from that incident. So it's going to be quite a while. With that, community expectations, I would suspect the Mackenzie Highway will be closed for quite a while. And the drive, even after much of the fire may be put out, and the driving reason for that is the dangers associated with disruption to the environment. One is we have a lot of burned trees, so standing trees that can fall in the wind, as well as it destabilizes the ground. So we have a more prone to like rock slides and mudslides and things like that in that area, as well as many other cleanup type items and damage for like guardrails and sign postages, et cetera. So it'll be, again, a long term when it comes to that piece. We'll continue to get more and more information as we get more organized and the teams start to come together. The Oregon Department of Forestry assumed the wildland fire this morning at 0600. And all these teams work really well together. I'm happy with the folks that they've got here. They're very experienced, very knowledgeable in this. And we're here as one team and one community to mitigate this threat. Most of all, stay informed as to what's going on through those official announcement pages. And that's the best information that you can get at this time. And sir, that's what I have. If there's any questions.
I want to thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. It has been a very anxious time for all of us, and we really appreciate how steady you are, how completely you're in control of what's happening here in a time when it feels very hard to control. So really appreciate what you and all of your team are doing for us. And I have both Mike and Claire in the queue. So Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor, Chief. Thank you very much for all the hard work. Thank you to you and to your staff, and certainly to all the firefighters who are putting themselves in danger to keep the rest of us safe. We're all very appreciative of that. Two questions. Number one, do you anticipate at any point soon a FEMA declaration of disaster?
Yes, they'll move forward with a FEMA declaration with this. When it will come, I don't know, but if it's not already initiated, it will come very shortly.
Will that put federal resources at your disposal that you don't have today?
So those will be coordinated through the incident management teams, as well as which is Office of State Fire Marshal and Oregon Department of Forestry, and it makes the resources available that are available. Let me just a quick scope of the problem. We are not the only incident of this size or magnitude within the state of Oregon right now, or the West Coast in general. There are close to 100 major events that are currently transpiring on the West Coast. Just in Oregon, we have Medford, Cave Junction, Glide, the Santiam Valley, as well as at the area southwest of Mount Hood, who have all declared major declarations. So nationally, there is a shortage of resources to combat these types of incidents.
Okay. Secondarily, I've seen a mapping site, the NASA, I think it's called FIRMS, as the best source of information of seeing current condition of the fire. Are you familiar with a better mapping place where people can pay attention to that?
No, I think that's great when you're talking in terms of the fire piece and watching that and its movement. But I would encourage folks. to monitor official sites with regards to evacuation notices.
Right.
You know, things like those types of applications are not going to update nearly as fast as like the county websites, potentially our city websites, as well as our county alerting systems. Because when we need to evacuate, we need to evacuate.
Yeah, understood. Thank you, sir.
Claire.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, very much for all your hard work and the hard work of everyone working with you out there. I had a couple of questions. One, you know, many of us received alert notices on our phones yesterday, and in almost every case, they were a go now evacuation order.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if folks in those areas that were impacted got prior, you know, standby, be prepared notices before those go now notices, or if things were happening so fast that there was no opportunity to put people on standby.
So if you're referring to Monday night is when and early into Tuesday morning when that was occurring. As an example, the fire burned 20 miles down the highway in just hours, literally. So yeah, timeliness was the issue there with that one in terms of getting folks out. While the immediate piece was what you were seeing was electronic. Also be aware the Lane County Sheriff's Office evacuation team commander was on the ground and moving people even before electronic notification went out as well. So yes, I don't know to what the levels were in that particular case. However, we have multiple venues in which we alert folks going out.
And the reason I ask is I had at least one constituent here in my ward who expressed concern that if Eugene was under threat, would we just get a go now order? And so I just wanted to kind of highlight that the situation out on the highway, McKenzie Highway, is very different from what we might experience here in the city. And just want to reassure people that there is more advance notice if we thought, you know, a fire was coming our way from up the highway. At the same time, I think it was yesterday evening, there were reports of some fires out near Fern Ridge, and I believe those were handled pretty quickly, but do you have any idea how those started, and can you give any update on the status?
I don't know how those fires started. I would propose they were not associated with this particular incident or connected to the Holiday Farm fire. And where that incident, I do not know what started this particular one. However, it's an area of known fires for that particular fire district. They have them there routinely. Typically because of the population, it's a heavily recreated area. And it's a high traffic area too. So it's not uncommon that they get fires there from people parking in the grass and hot exhaust and things like that.
And those fires are out right now?
Yes.
Okay.
They were mitigated in less than 60 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Alan.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, and thanks to all the firefighters and people working on this and the support crews and everybody that's working on this and try to save our community. So I know they often are putting themselves at risk to be able to do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess you kind of went through a litany of resources that are being deployed, and I don't suppose there is a fire that has a sufficient amount of resources ever deployed to it, because the faster you can get, the more resources you can get there, the less damage occurs. So do we have enough resources to given the circumstances, and is there anything the council can do to bolster more resources to fight this fire?
So certainly more resources are needed in general. Our current goal is to mitigate and stop the fire where it's at. We don't want it to get into more heavier densely populated areas. In terms of more resources, really what we need are staff and apparatus, which is not something we just simply go and order up, unfortunately. So that's where we use our mutual aid resources and our partners, and we're leveraging those to the best of our abilities. But unfortunately, as a whole, the whole system right now is very thin or tapped out. And so certainly the continued support, and I think amplifying the message to our community is great, especially encouraging folks to listen to the official public informed messages as to actions we can take. And also encouraging folks, to support each other. If you've had someone who's been impacted by this or evacuatee, how can you help those persons by in some way or some capacity? The other piece that complicates this, as we all know, is the COVID component or threat. So when we talk about sheltering or moving people to evacuation centers, et cetera, that adds some more complications as well. So those are some of the issues that we're dealing with specifically right now. And I certainly appreciate the offer.
Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, personally, we're putting up a evacuee and her pets. So if everybody can do that and share in helping people out in this dire times, that'd be extremely helpful. Mike mentioned the NOAA map, which is a good visual overhead, but is there a more local map that from the official sources? And what do you mean by official sources? Are you talking about Lane County and City of Eugene?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I really hope folks just kind of cue into Lane County. You can go to Lane County website and sign up for the alert notification, and it's an app on your phone, and you'll get a lot of those, ready, set, go notifications. And we base that based on geofencing, et cetera. Can be really helpful for folks. Also monitoring your local news networks. Our public information officers and the Joint Information Center are pushing information out routinely on the updates of the fires. The Office of Emergency Management has a map. It's a wildland or wildfire dashboard. That's a good map that gets updated pretty regularly as well. And
that's on the Lane County site.
So no, that we would have to go to the Office of Emergency Management. You have to drill into that a little bit to get there. But they do have an emergency dashboard, emergency wildfire dashboard that provides information as well.
And the alerts. Go ahead.
The Facebook page for this fire is another really good one. ODF and the Office, so Oregon Department of Forestry and the Office of State Fire Marshal do a really good job of updating that pretty consistently, and many times that will include the current fire maps.
Yeah. And the alerts, there's some kind of confusion that some people not getting alerts. Is that because they haven't had the app on their phone or? Mm-hmm. And so in order to get an alert, you have to be signed up?
Yeah, so through the Lane County Emergency Management alerting system, you would sign up and put your information in, and you download an app and you put the information that you want in. And that's one way to get it. It's also pushed out through the normal emergency alert networks as well. So you hear the three tones, such as on your television or on the radio. That's another way that the alerting system and information is pushed out timely.
Does that go to everybody, including all cell phones? That last one?
The last one, I don't believe goes to cell phones. I can't speak to that level of
technology. You have to sign up for it.
So I encourage everybody to sign up and get this app on your phone and you could be kept apprised of the alerts, and because some of these could be life-saving if you're in harm's way. So go download that app and get it on your phone so you can be alerted as to what's going on. Thank you. And thank you again, Chief, and to all the firefighters and support staff that are helping on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other people needing to ask questions. So again, I just want to extend my appreciation to you, Chief, for you and all the firefighters that are doing.
You got muted.
Just muted myself. Sorry. Anyway, thank you very, very much for this report. We'll let you go. We appreciate you taking the time to bring us up to speed and take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Cheers. Okay.
Thank you. So now the first item of business is the action item, a motion on the ad hoc committee on police policy. And Manager, do you need to introduce this, or I know that this is a motion from Councilor Ye?
Yeah. I don't know if I need to introduce it, or I'm looking at Councilor Ye to see if you want to introduce this and just introduce the motion, or do you want? Okay.
I can. So I think you all have been updated with the list of folks, and there was one missing name. And so this motion is just taking care of that, that last person we would like to have on the committee. So Mayor, do you want me to just make the motion? Okay. So move that notwithstanding council's September 1st deadline for groups to appoint ad hoc committee representatives, Sandra Shotridge is the second representative of the Indigenous Peoples group appointed to the ad hoc committee on police policy.
Second. Thank you. Any questions, discussion for this? All right, if we're ready for a vote, please raise your hands, actually or virtually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you so much. None opposed, and that passes. Thank you, Councilor Ye. Thank you, Jennifer, for taking care of that and making sure that committee is complete. That's an excellent beginning. Okay, and now we are ready to move on to a work session on the Northwest Natural Franchise Agreement update. Manager?
Great. Thank you, Mayor Venice. I am going to have Ethan just kind of kick this off.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ethan Nelson, the Intergovernmental Relations Manager here for the City of Eugene, and I'm also joined by Hua Go, one of the Assistant City Attorneys, who's been my partner as we work on negotiating the franchise agreement renewal, along with the carbon reduction agreement the council has identified as a priority. So today, I'm just going to kind of kick off based upon what we discussed or what we shared within our the AIS. And basically this is an update for the past roughly month. So your last meeting and your first meeting from break, I get to see you, I get to present on this. So hopefully it's not too foggy in your mind, but on July 29th, you had directed the manager to initiate an ordinance for the extension of the franchise agreement for an additional 6 months. And that period, on the 21st of this month, there will be a public hearing for that ordinance, and then council action on the 28th. And so today we wanted to, and what we had talked about was just giving you an update on to some of the progress that we've made working with Northwest Natural Gas between the 29th and today. So it's pretty straightforward within the AIS. We really outlined that we had been working on the development of ground rules, a table of items that we were in agreement in, and a list of priority items for further discussion. And so I'll spend a little bit of time going through those. And then if you have questions or concerns, we can share those and discuss those. So really with the ground rules, we really set out kind of what our meeting summaries were going to be, how we were going to follow up with one another, the process for providing input and feedback on the proposals, just really trying to make sure that our communications were clear, concise, supportive, and that we made sure that all parties involved were feeling very confident about the way that we were moving forward. So that's really those communications protocols, and then recognizing that those will change over time as we understand and gain better clarity from one another, and things that come on up that we learn more about each other's proposals or the way that we're needing to operate moving forward. Those will then get incorporated within the ground rules. And so that was just a very productive way so that we could start to structure our meetings in a much more focused and deliberative manner, more so than we had throughout the process to date. And that has really helped us to springboard from those fundamental conversations to expedite, as I put into the AIS, these quote unquote difficult conversations. And so, again, really build trust between our parties. And so we feel that over the course of the past month, we've had 4 different 2-hour meetings with our negotiation team, and then also one meeting with some of our executives from our side and also executives from there. So we got a very kind of good group to have that overview. So that's where we are with the ground rules. Feel really strongly with them. And I apologize. I'm going to start my sharing screen with you all related to the slide deck and get on into there. So there we go. So just these were the timelines that we had set on up. And as you can remember, back in July, and what I placed in here was in July was when in 2019 is when you first extended the franchise for 6 months. And then in April 2020, we extended it again. And now in late July, we gave the update on the franchise negotiation, and that's when you directed the manager. And today is just getting an update and answer questions. And then as we look towards the 21st, the public hearing, with that new termination date to be the May 11th for into spring 2021. Yay, getting to 2021. Let's get out of 2020 here. And then September 28th is then when you would take action. Moving on, and so beyond the kind of ground rules, we wanted to put together a table that shows what we've been able to agree upon and get really good clarity on as a way to show that good faith negotiations are continuing, where both parties are taking this very focused and serious throughout the month of August, when traditionally we'll be on vacation. We held a lot of meetings and did a lot of work because of the interest to move forward. And so, as you can tell, we've outlined these, and I'll just kind of quickly walk through. Number one, the carbon reduction agreement. We are, the parties are agreed that the CRA will be a separate agreement from the franchise. We're continuing to negotiate those details and terms. Number two, the franchise agreement. There is agreement. The current franchise form remains generally the same for renewal, and then pending further negotiation on terms coinciding with CRA negotiations. And that's really that we're moving forward on the franchise agreement with the recognition that the CRA is successful. If the CRA is not successful, then we are really clear, like then the franchise may alter. Number three, the length of the franchise and the CRA will be 10 years with reopeners in each at year 3. And so we put that, and further terms will be negotiated. Number four, the franchise fee. And so we've negotiated and agreed that currently there will be an increase in the franchise fee from the current 5% to be 5.5% of gross revenue for years 1 and 2, and then move to 6% for years 3 through 10. And so that's a 1% increase in the franchise fee, and that we wanted to stagger that in, and the discussion was to stagger that in based upon the current economic conditions related to the COVID pandemic and the economic impacts. And so that was something that we discussed early on with the sounding board, and there was strong support for that over time. One of the items that I would add for clarity is that the current agreement on the franchise fee is based on successful negotiations of the CRA, of the carbon reduction agreement. And so that amount could change depending upon how we are able to move forward with the CRA. Number 5, the carbon reduction fee that's part of the carbon reduction agreement. The amount is that we've agreed that it would be roughly equivalent to 2.5% of the gross revenue of designated customers. And so designated customers, we're still negotiating what that means. And the reason being is because you have both the service customers that the utility provides in the residential, commercial, and industrial classes. And then you also have transport customers. And transport customers are ones that they don't really buy the gas from the utility. The utility is just, they're buying the gas from a different supplier, and the utility is moving it on their pipeline and delivering it. It's a different relationship between then somebody like at a residential level who buys the gas from the utility. And because of it, there's a difference in how regulatory and economically those two customers are taken. And so we're trying to figure out, because within Eugene, those are still some large greenhouse gas emitters. And so we want to figure out how do we approach that within the CRF and the CRA. And so we're still negotiating that and trying to understand better what are some opportunities there. But what we have agreed to is that 2.5%, and then also phasing it on in, as we talked about. The rationale for that is much like the phasing in the franchise fee, is to provide that a 2-year phase in, so that there'd be more allowing that kind of phase in for economic reasons. The last one, number 6, reporting on CRF uses. And so we both parties agree that there should be further reporting or component in the CRA agreement, specific terms, and are further discussed and negotiated by parties. And so that's one area where if council has got input from related to that, provide it to us, and we can incorporate that as we continue to discuss this. And then the last item that we're agreed upon is that they're related to the CRF, low-income assistance, that we both support addressing the impact of the CRF to low-income customers. What that looks like is to be determined, and we will be bringing forth discussions with the sounding board to get their sense of where council is. And then as items come on up, we'll bring them to council for clarity and work directly with each of you as needed. And then moving forward, just this last part. So here's the topics that are still to be negotiated. And we've been able to put these onto a calendar roughly over the course of the next couple of months. And so we'll be spending 2-hour segments of time and making sure that we get the appropriate preparation and the appropriate staff and the kind of experts at the table as needed. And so most of them center around the carbon reduction fee. Whoops, there we go. And so there's the creation of the fee, how is it assessed and upon whom? And so we've discussed this with council in the past. The oversight, how is the carbon reduction fund administered? What's the makeup of the body? Provide oversight and advisory. So we've shared most of these items we've shared with you before, but we really wanted to clearly articulate that these are still part of the more difficult conversations that we're preparing for and have launched. And then we want to come back and be very deliberate in them. Uses, what investments are the eligibility for? Linkage, how is the franchise agreement and the carbon reduction fund or agreement linked? Termination, what are the terms within the agreement that will allow the parties to initiate termination, including any council policy action? So this has come up before. And then public input, what level of input or involvement will there be? And with the recognition that any ordinance that moves forward from the council goes through the code determined statutory process, public input, much like on the 21st, there's the public hearing, which is part of the ordinance process. So with that, I will stop the screen share, bring it back here, and just really briefly allow Hua, if she has any input that she wants to provide before opening up for discussion.
I don't have anything to add to what you just presented. I think that covers it.
Great. So questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you very much, Ethan. You're right. We needed a bookend to remind us of where we left off when we last heard from you. And this was a helpful presentation. I have, looks like Alan in the queue. So Alan, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, I just want to compliment staff on moving forward and negotiating this. We are making progress. I think it's very complicated. It's the first time in the country anybody's tried to do this, so there's no plan, there's no model to follow. So we're kind of finding our way through this, and it will be pretty groundbreaking once I think we're done. And so I think maybe Ethan, you can talk to progress and trying to get at the end game of this, which is an agreement. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that's going.
Yeah, so thanks, Councilor Zelenka. The progress we're moving forward. As I said, when we presented the table and then the list of items. The table really gives you an overview of, we've done some good work over the course of the past month and gotten clarity and can stand behind the terms and the recognition that on both sides, words matter, and we're trying to figure out making sure that as we put words on paper, that both parties clearly understand and are behind what that says and what that means. And so that process is labor intensive, and we work through that. And so the last month was really spending time building up kind of muscle memory related to how to work collaboratively and move towards a negotiated outcome, recognizing that on some of these issues we're fairly positional, but we got to move from those positions to find some level of alignment to have an agreement that's going to be successful and be adopted by this body here, and as well that their executive team would be supportive of. So I think that we're moving in a really strong, good direction. We have very difficult conversations related to carbon reductions in the future and what those mean and how those, and we've articulated those for your benefit. And so we're going to continue to do our best with the recognition that it'll be challenging.
Yeah, also 2 other points. One is that Northwest Natural falls under the governor's executive order that does a cap and reduce program, and because Republicans walked out on the legislature and we didn't get a cap and trade program, the governor's doing it by executive order through Department of Environmental Quality, and Northwest Natural is involved in that and will be regulated under that. So that will help reduce their emissions, and which will be significant. It'll take a while, but it's supposed to be up and running by the beginning of next year, which is a daunting task for the DEQ staff. But that will help tremendously in getting the reductions that we are wanting to see from the natural gas sector and our greenhouse gas inventory. And second is, I just really hope we go down this road. I mean, I'm fully willing to go down the regulatory path if we need to, if all this falls apart. But the mutually agreed to contract is, I think, faster, easier, and better, gets us to where we want to get to in a timely fashion. It might not be perfect when we end up with it, but in the alternative, I think some people under the illusion that just regulate them and tell them what to do. And I don't think that path is actually as simple or as timely as people think it actually would be. So that's why we've gone down this path, trying to get to a mutually agreed to climate recovery, or what are we calling it? CRA, Climate Reduction Act. And then, so I hope that we get there. And we don't have to go that path, because I think that's going to be long, arduous, and expensive. And this would be better for all the parties to be able to come to an agreement. But I think the council's ready to back that up if we need to, but I don't want to go there.
I do want to say one thing related to your first comment on the DEQ's process. That's one of the reasons why we have structured the term to be 10 years, but a reopener at year 3. Our belief is that by that period in time, 24, 32 months from now, DEQ will have those regulatory elements will be set forth, and we'll have a better understanding of what the whole lay of the land is related to the regulatory and cost environment across Oregon. And so that's one of the main reasons why we've set that as a reopener at year 3.
Thank you. Have Mike and then Claire in the queue.
Thank you, Mayor. Ethan, thank you for the report. Is any part of the negotiation process public other than your reports to us? In other words, can the public view, participate, and understand the changes in what they'll be charged, that sort of thing that are coming?
Councilor Clark, there's I would say that related to the question, as I understand it, there is public involvement in the contractual negotiation between the city and Northwest Natural. To date, no. We are not having our meetings open to the public because of the contractual elements of that. And I think that's had been a request for both parties. The second part related to the outcomes of the negotiations, as Hua and Catherine have shared in the past. Any agreement that we are able to finalize will need to go and be put on into an ordinance and go through the process for adopting an ordinance, which includes a public hearing and community input. And so that I would say is that related to public input on any of the final outcomes, we are baking that on into the process from here on out.
Wouldn't you say it would be more challenging for the general public and for the ratepayer to understand the fairly significant increase in rates they'll be paying if they weren't able to be part of the process of understanding how that happened?
Councilor Clark, as I understand your question, and maybe let me rephrase it, is that you have expressed concern about having the city take action related to financial impacts on ratepayers. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, more or less, because I mean, we have, as a council, done a number of things in the last year or two to increase the economic load that the average folks in our community have to pay for several things. And this is going to be a significant impact on the rate they pay for a utility, and a necessary one for many. So I'm just trying to make sure we're as transparent as we can be in that process.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. And I would say that we continue to hold the impact on customers as part of really how we present to this body a triple bottom line analysis as that would come forth with any of the final recommendations for an agreement. As you know, ultimately, this is going to come before you as a body that will need to vote and provide input. And you've had a good amount of opportunities to provide guidance and input as a body to date, and we continue to engage the council as the decision-making body and elected representatives for the community. And so I think that we're working on that. It's part and parcel of our discussions, as I've identified on our list. Public input is part of the discussion. And so I think that we're continuing to take that into account and represent the council's concerns and interests for the community in a deliberate and professional manner.
If you stack the current franchise fee and the current franchise fee is 5%, correct?
Correct.
So if you stack the increase fully amortized over the couple of years there, once it gets into full strength, with the new, I'm sorry for the acronym, CRA, and not CRA, CRF, excuse me. By my math, that looked like a 3.5% increase, taking it to 8.5% in total, rather than the 5% currently. So more than 50% increase in the cost of gas.
Councilor Clark, I think that
or in the price of what we have associated with that.
Right. And so I would say yes, as it would be fully implemented, it would roughly be about 8.5% of the gross revenue. And so once again, the way that we have the franchise fee is set up is that it's a fee on the company, and the company then chooses to pass those costs to the customers. This is part of the creation, the discussion. Right. Sure. We've got is that we have proposed to place a fee on the company, and however they choose to pass that forward, that is their choice.
As everyone does.
And then back to the total impact is that 8% one of the challenges with rates that sometimes gets the headlines is that we say, oh, there's a 30% increase. But then you start to look at, well, what does that look like? And currently, off of somebody's bill, and we'll be working on this in terms of the prototypical customer. We've done this in the past when we come to you with solid waste rate increases that the city has control over, and also stormwater and wastewater.
Right.
Is that those percentage of increases are fairly, they're nominal, related on a regular basis, and so it could be that the current charge is anywhere from $2.50 to $3 that gets passed on from the company to the customer, and if then that increases by another percentage or what that looks like, it could be up to $3.50, $4. And so we want to be able to, as we're working on this, and that's what I say about the triple bottom line analysis, is be able to deliver to you, here's what we are seeing would be potentially the impact of a prototypical residential commercial customer at moving forward. So the council has that related to what then the carbon benefits would be, what the economics and the equity impacts would be.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Okay, Claire, and then Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ethan, for the update. I just wanted to make a few comments and then clarify something from just this last exchange. So I agree with Alan. This is really a historic effort for a city to link a franchise agreement to a related agreement that's working towards reducing carbon emissions. And, I think wherever we end up, I am proud of us for this effort and this work and for making the investment of time and staff time and council time in trying to come to this agreement. And I just wanted to kind of call out, I'm really pleased that the establishment of ground rules has really helped with the discussions. And it sounds like things have been a lot more productive in the last month than they had been in the past several months. And that's, and then, so that helps move things forward more quickly. And also, I think it's really important that you noted that you are feeling like you guys are having success with understanding the language that's being used and what it means. That seems like a really obvious thing that one should do in a negotiation, but it doesn't always happen. I'm having my own professional experience with that in my work arena. So that's super important. And, that means you can make progress more quickly, move things forward at a faster pace. And also once the agreement, assuming we sign this agreement, is signed, any disputes that arise from the agreement will be argued on the same understanding of the language between the parties, which also helps resolve disputes more quickly. So I really appreciate you calling that out. And then I just wanted to clarify from that last exchange, because I got a little confused about the numbers. Our current franchise fee agreement is set at 5%?
Correct.
Okay. So, and it's scheduled to go up, if we did everything that was proposed that you laid out today, would go up to 8.5 ultimately with both agreements?
Correct.
So, okay, because Councilor Clark said it was a 50% increase, but that's not a 50% increase. So I think that's important that we aren't saying that. If it had been 3%, then that would be a more than 50% increase, but it's starting from baseline of 5 that we're at now. Okay, just want to clarify it. Thanks very much.
Okay, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you. So, Ethan, I just wanted to thank you and your team for being so positive. At your last update, I was feeling a little frustrated with how things seemed like they were going, but I'm with this more recent one, it's a lot more hopeful. And for whatever reason, it sounds like a lot more success is happening. And maybe it's those ground rules, maybe it's something else, I don't know, but it sounds like we're working more as partners to try to get to the successful solution. I agree with Alan. Like, I think if we can work together as partners to figure out what's going to be the best for our community, that is definitely the preferred route. And this conversation with Councillor Clark has really, I think, highlighted, I think we actually agree on this, that this is more complicated than just increasing our wastewater or something like that. There's a lot behind why we're doing it and the different new mechanisms that may or may not be used. And it sounds like you guys are already thinking about that and how you're going to communicate that to the public. Did I freeze?
Right when you said freeze.
Yep, you just froze.
It's like a preemptive freeze.
So,
Well done.
yeah. Jennifer, I'm going to circle back to you, and if you need to call in, you can do that. And I your hand. So Betty, I've got you. Okay, so let's hold that thought from Jennifer. She'll come back, and I'm going to give Betty a first turn, and then I have both Alan and Mike wanting a second round. So Betty, take it away.
As reluctant as I am, I partially Mike again.
Betty, we can hear.
Can't hear you, Betty.
So
Put on your headphone, Betty.
Yeah, needs to be louder.
Okay. As much as I hate these, can you hear me now? As much as I hate these Zoom things, I enjoy watching Mike's facial expressions when someone else speaks. I can tell what he's thinking. But I do agree with Mike that about public input, and I don't think that once we have an ordinance, the public input means much. It should. It means more than it used to, since we had the Charter Review Committee, and we can no longer act on an item at the same night as a public hearing, unless everyone, if even one counselor disagrees. That was a big step forward. Still, things don't change much after a public hearing. And once, I think there should be public involvement before we get to that point. All the way along, I think there should be public involvement. And then I had a question about the, oh, my cell phone is alerting me to something and I don't know what to do about it.
Push the side button.
Side button? It's you know how to do everything, don't you? It stopped. But the carbon reduction, are we talking about actually reducing the carbon or just charging a fee for it? That's a question.
Councillor Taylor, so I just want to be clear because of there's the emergency signal and interruptions. I understand your question to be related to the carbon reduction agreement, the outcome of that.
Yeah, so is it real, are we requiring real reduction or just that they pay for continuing to do the carbon, to produce the carbon?
Well, that's a really good question. And what we approached it as is the ability for, I'm just waiting so that Councillor Taylor can hear this.
Okay.
So what we've approached it as is that the concept is that to reduce carbon emissions in a voluntary scheme rather than in a regulatory mandatory scheme. In a voluntary scheme, it really relies upon investments within energy efficiency and renewable technologies. And so without a funding source for those investments, those actions and thereby the reductions in carbon emissions would probably not happen. And so in this negotiation, both parties are looking at the carbon reduction piece as how do we make voluntary investments that will then have carbon reduction outcomes. And so that's how we're approaching the issue of the climate recovery ordinance and really seeing carbon reductions go down is we need to invest. Where do we get the funding to invest? And so that's the discussion currently.
Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer, I think is going to call in later. She's lost her internet connection, so she'll check in with Ethan. So Alan and Mike, you're up first.
Yeah, thanks. you know, all this needs to be put in some context too. We are currently experiencing the cost of doing nothing. That is those fires. They are directly related to climate change, and they're going to continue, and it's going to continue to get worse all over the West. The droughts that we're experiencing, the high temperatures, the weird weather, the wind, all of that is in line with that. So the cost of doing nothing is what we're seeing today. So in that context, what does 3.5% to $4 mean? In that's a little bit more than inflation. To me, it's rather modest, and it's phased in over time, which helps mitigate it. And then we're also working on a big section, and maybe Ethan, you can address this. Is we're looking at low-income protections and trying to help the people that are least able to pay be able to get some relief and benefit in addition. And then the actions that we'll be taking, getting to Betty's point and that Ethan said was, you know, a lot of this reductions will actually come from energy efficiency in the existing stock, which is about 80 to 90% of the emissions from natural gas comes from the stuff we already have, not the new stuff. And so focusing on that and doing the energy efficiency, which actually helps people reduce their bills so they can actually take action to mitigate any increase that comes because of the CRF. So it's not as if it's just onto them without any mitigation actions. For low income and for people to do more energy efficiency, you can help reduce the impact to your household as well. So I think those things need to be kept in context.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Ethan, I just want to say that I think your work that you do on behalf of the city and the city's current policy is fantastic. I think you do a fantastic job of implementing and trying to see accomplished through all the work you do, city's policies. And I just want to say, though, to the last comment there of the discussion, that there's really nothing voluntary about mandatory rate increases to the general public. So that's kind of the point that I'm getting at here. The impact to the public, and I want to say I appreciate very much the first meeting back that Betty and I are agreeing again. That's just a lovely sight. And Ethan, lastly, you mentioned that as part of the next upcoming report, or at least the final one, you'll have impact analysis for what I am assuming, based on what you just mentioned, was residential impact based on the numbers you were using. But I'm hoping that we will also see commercial impact to, for example, local restaurants that use a great deal of gas and have been pretty hard hit economically lately, and the increases that they'll have to pay. So I hope we'll see that too.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like everybody is satisfied with that. No other questions. And I just want to second and third what we've heard from counselors, which is I really appreciate that this has taken a much more positive turn than it felt at our last meeting, which was discouraging for all of us, I think. So I really appreciate Hua, you and Ethan both, the work, then Catherine, the work that you're all doing to navigate what is incredibly challenging and deeply important, a huge piece of our negotiations around how we meet our climate goals. So really, really appreciate your work. Thank you so very much. And it looks like Alan raised his hand again. Did you have one more comment, Alan?
Oh, not on this before we end.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll just, so with that, thank you very much. And we look forward to the next round, and it'll be interesting at the public hearing. So thank you for all your work. And that I will turn it over to Alan. You have another topic to speak to.
Oh, I just wanted to ask staff that we already have the packet on the emergency or the fire merger. So please don't reprint it and send it to us. We can keep that. It's an inch thick. And so please just include one page, refer back to that packet we sent to you for today. And it'll save you some time. And
It was an excellent point. It was quite the welcome home to look at a packet that was 337 pages long. So
yeah, that wasn't the exact words I used when I saw the packet.
We're back. Thank you all very much. A great conversation. Emily, it is great to see you looking well.
Yeah, Emily.
Yes, glad
better.
to see you're recovering.
And stay awake, you know.
Yeah, right. Well done. Well done. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon. And hopefully by tomorrow, we'll start to be able to see the sky again.
Hope so. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.